Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, Rivers State House of Assembly asks Fubara to forward Commissioner nominees list for consideration. Stakeholders unite to strengthen maternal health in Anambra State. Cameroon schools shut over separatist threats as election looms. And Kigali youth cyclists rise as Rwanda prepares to host UCI World Championships. Details in a moment.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Rivers State House of Assembly has asked Governor Similai Fubara to forward the list of commissioner nominees to it for consideration. The lawmakers, led by the Speaker, Martin Ameule, made the call when they resumed sitting on Thursday, less than 24 hours after President Bola Tinubu ended the emergency rule in the state. The state governor, Similai Fubara, and his deputy, Ngozi Odu, who are expected to take over the leadership of the state, are, however, yet to arrive at the government house in Port Harcourt. The former administrator, retired Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, who handed over the reins of power on Wednesday night, urged political actors in the state to embrace mutual respect and dialogue in a state broadcast. Earlier on Thursday, the people of Rivers State were in celebration mood following the suspension of the 6-month emergency rule and restoration of democratic institutions in the state. From the homes, offices, markets, and the streets, it was jubilation all through as the people expressed their joy at the turn of events.
The streets of Port Harcourt and other parts of the state are in celebration mood following the return of democratic rule in the state. From homes to offices, markets, and other areas, it was joy overflow as Rivers State people welcomed the new dawn. At the Ecumenical Center, celebrations was in top gear as Rivers women staged praise and worship session as they waited for the return of Similai Fubara, demonstrating their deep love, happiness, and immense joy for the governor's resumption. The immediate past chairman of the Obiakpo local government area, Chijioke Ihumo, called for prayers for the success of the governor. He urged the people to keep the emergency rule behind them and seek ways to support the governor as he resumes office.
We are thanking God and also thanking Mr. President for lifting the suspension of His Excellency the Governor of Rivers State. You know that the past 6 months have not been easy for our people, but we are here in solidarity to tell the governor that he has the majority supporters in this state and that this state belongs to all of us. And I will continue to support him. We will continue to pray for him to succeed as the governor of our state. Well, no man can live forever. What has happened, but we take it in good faith. What we want is our governor, and like I tell people, power belongs to God. Nobody will live forever. What you're saying now is just a short comment. Our governor is a man that has conscience. I know he knows what to do to support those who supported him during the trying time. So for us, our people to remain calm and let us continue to support His Excellency the Governor. Well, you can see that what happened was those who want to hijack the source of life with the people went and brought a stranger to take over as for 6 months. It's not going to affect me alone. It's affecting including those people who brought the man. It's affecting everybody, including those who are doing business. So I know that the governor will continue with those projects because we elected him and the people are proud of him.
In same manner, Barasin Isaiah expressed happiness for the return of the governor, who he described as a good man.
As you can see, the joy is obvious, and we have waited for 6 months till this time, and finally, irrespective of whatever that has happened, we are happy that our own governor is here with us. You already know who the governor is. He's a peace-loving governor, the man who has the heart of the people, for the people also. And with all he has done in the past 2 years, irrespective of the war, the fight and all, you see that he has the people at heart. And this is what he will continue, knowing fully well the peace we have today is because of the people that he mandated. So therefore, our expectations are normal because he has already done before and he will do it again.
There is sigh of relief in the nooks and crannies of the state after what the people saw as a sad and painful experience of the past 6 months of the emergency rule. The Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Martins Amewule, also resumed plenary following the lifting of the emergency rule and presidential directive for elective institutions to resume office by 12 midnight. This signaled the full return of the democratically elected government. The conference hall has served as the lawmakers' temporary chamber since the official chamber at the Assembly Complex on Moscow Road was searched and later pulled down by the state government. The demonstrations by Rivers people further attest to the fact that Governor Fubara is indeed a good man and is widely loved. The streets is busy, expressing excitement as they are ready to welcome their governor.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has revealed that he spoke with Governor of Rivers State, Similai Fubara, on Wednesday ahead of the lifting of the emergency rule in the state by President Bola Tinubu. Wike, who spoke on a live television program, noted that following 6 months of emergency rule in the oil-rich South-South state, peace has been restored, with all stakeholders now committed to moving the state forward. Wike added that he has forgiven Fubara, stating that there is no longer any conflict between him and his successor. The FCT minister also criticized those he said are opposed to the return of peace in the state, stating that they offer no solutions and are only interested in fueling crisis. He said he will not be imposing any commissioners on the governor and that he is at liberty to appoint those he feels he can work with. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike, has warned that those urging former President Goodluck Jonathan to contest the 2027 presidential election are deliberately plotting to plunge the country into crisis. Wike said it was hypocritical for the same people who frustrated Jonathan's bid in 2015 to suddenly be calling on him to return, despite his established status as an international statesman. The minister cautioned against attempts to destabilize the political balance by fronting Jonathan or any candidate from the South under the guise of a one-term presidency, describing such moves as insincere. Wike admitted the country was passing through difficult times, but insisted that the president had taken tough but necessary decisions to reposition the economy. The FCT minister maintained that while Nigerians must be patient with the Tinubu administration, opposition leaders should not exploit current economic challenges for political gains. The Senate Committee on Federal Capital Territory Area Councils and Ancillary Matters has appealed to members of the National Association of Resident Doctors, FCT chapter, to immediately suspend their ongoing strike. The committee, led by David Jimkuta, which met with the leadership of the striking doctors, assured the doctors that their concerns were receiving attention and promised to escalate the matter directly to the FCT minister. Jimkuta acknowledged the devastating impact the strike is having on healthcare delivery in the territory and pleaded with the doctors to resume work while talks continue. He commended the doctors for what he described as a selfless fight, noting that their demands were focused on strengthening Nigeria's collapsing healthcare system rather than personal gain. Normal activities have resumed at various courts in Enugu State, following the suspension of the strike embarked upon by the Enugu State branch of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN. Christopher Lele, who visited the various courts, reported that workers, lawyers, and litigants are in court to resume their daily business.
Court sittings are yet to fully commence at the courts, even as the Enugu State branch of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, called off its strike. The workers are, however, back to their duty post for resumption of their daily activities at the various courts in Enugu State. Some lawyers, litigants, and judiciary staff who were seen at the court premises said they came to court to resume their court cases following confirmation of the suspension of the industrial action.
Well, certainly, when the strike was commenced, the gate was even locked. So the fact that we're inside the court premises is number one evidence that the strike has been called off. And of course, we are here for business because the strike has been called off. And I am also aware that some courts are sitting currently, doing their normal business for the day. So I can say confidently the courts are sitting. So the strike has been called off.
Yes, of course, I can confirm certainly that the strike has been called off. If you take a look around the premises, the court premises, you see cars parked, and those are lawyers. They came for their matters, as I came for mine too. So, you know, the strike has been called off, and I can say for a certain that court cases are going to, you know, start going on.
A female lawyer who was at the court, however, expressed her frustration even after the resumption of duties.
I came to court and as a matter of fact, I was here before 9 a.m. That is the court time, but the court was still was locked. And then we called the court registrar and they said they will come, but that the court will not sit. So I am just coming from the court now. The court did not sit, but the registrars are there giving out dates. Their non-sitting today is as a result of the sudden call-off, because I learned it was called off yesterday night. They were not giving adequate notice, so they were not a kind of prepared for today. Maybe they've a kind of rescheduled their distance today. Maybe probably by tomorrow, Monday, work will resume fully.
When asked if they think the strike is suspended for good, the lawyer said JUSUN will be best to respond to that, as they are not aware if their demands have been met by government.
They are the ones that went on the strike, and they also informed us that they have reached an agreement, an amicable agreement with the government, and that's why they suspended the strike. So it depends on what they agree with the government and whether the government will eventually keep to whatever they agreed upon.
One of the lawyers explained the challenges lawyers faced during the strike, which affected their source of income.
During that period, some of us that are fully into litigation, it's really affected us because we are not going to court. You know, we just from vacation to MBA conference, from MBA conference to the strike. So it really affected lawyers. So everything was just on a standstill, and then most of us that earn our living from litigation, during that period we were not going to court. So we were busy in the offices doing table work.
The judiciary workers had gone on strike over unpaid salary arrears, failure of government to implement the consolidated judiciary salary structure, and non-implementation of financial autonomy granted to judiciary, among others. Christopher Lele, Signature TV.
A coalition of civil society network on AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria, ATM network, has called on the Anambra State government to increase investment in disease control programs in the state. The group made the call during a media roundtable on the COVID-19 response mechanism community strengthening project held in Oka. Correspondent Lawrence Wimo has the details.
The Civil Society Network on AIDS, Tuberculosis and Malaria believes that sustainable health financing and improved access to treatment remain critical to safeguarding public health in Anambra State. At the roundtable, stakeholders stressed the need for the government to scale up interventions, particularly at the community level, to reduce new infections and strengthen healthcare delivery. They also urged stronger partnership between civil society groups and the government to ensure accountability and better service delivery. The project, implemented in 5 local government areas of the state, aims to strengthen community-led monitoring, improve service delivery, and promote accountability in the health sector. State coordinator of the ATM network, Ifeinwa Onachukwu, lamented that resource mobilization for the program is still very limited, with a heavy dependence on donor funding. She noted that the absence of clear budget lines for TB, HIV, and malaria programs within local government health allocations has made the situation even more fragile.
We have a framework that that encompasses the disease data, all disease areas in Nigeria, the data, the processes, the procedures, budgets, how to make money outside government, involve the private sector, involve development partners and all these. But Nigeria will have to own it first, and CLM is a part of it. That's why it has a one whole strategic framework.
Onachukwu disclosed that the project has already achieved tremendous results in the 5 focal local government areas it covered, but warned that without sustained government commitment, funding and accountability, the gains can quickly fade. She called on all stakeholders, especially the government, to rise to the occasion and ensure that the fight against TB, HIV and malaria in Anambra State remains strong, community-driven and sustainable.
Financing strategy should be developed, drawing support not only from the state and local governments, but also from the private sector and philanthropic actors. Equally, it's important for the state government to demonstrate political will by consistently fulfilling its counterpart funding obligations for TB, HIV, and malaria programs. Improving service delivery requires stronger community-based drug distribution systems and more deliberate campaigns to reduce stigma and misinformation. Most critically, government ownership of the community-led monitoring framework must be established, institutionalizing CLM within the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency and integrating its findings into health sector planning and performance reviews will go a long way in sustaining the process.
State Program Officer of TB Network, Onyekachi Oluolu, stressed the need to institutionalize community-led monitoring within the Anambra State Primary Healthcare Development Agency. He believes that integrating community findings into health sector planning and performance reviews will help sustain progress made in disease control efforts.
The commitment and efforts of the CBOs and the CLM and the partners in Anambra State, we can make good to say, contributed to the recruitment that have been done back to back in Anambra State. We can also say one of the broader success stories we have gotten as a result of our work is the turnaround maintenance work that is going on in different facilities, because we have seen that the states of these facilities are actually needed attention, and these are what we always call to the attention of the government actors.
Oluolu highlighted the successes of the project in the state, attributing them to community mobilization and empowerment. He stressed that sustained government commitment is crucial to maintaining the gains. Lawrence Mwimo, Signature TV News.
Stakeholders in Anambra State have taken a strategic step towards strengthening maternal and child health in primary health centers. This is aimed at bridging gaps in healthcare access and ensuring that children and pregnant women receive the care they need. Correspondent Lawrence Wimo also has the report.
Stakeholders in Anambra State have taken a strategic step towards strengthening maternal and child health services in primary healthcare centers. At a one-day maternal health champions engagement meeting in Oka, the state capital, the stakeholders emphasized the need for accountability, gender inclusion, and citizen participation in PHCs. The meeting, which featured a training program for world development committees, community-based organizations, and widows, highlighted the importance of assessing maternal and child health services at primary healthcare centers towards ensuring safer pregnancies and childbirth.
At nearby primary health centers, mobilizing women, mobilizing single mothers, we did it also in August, and we will be also doing it to bridge the gap. How can we also follow up with differently to ensure that such people, we follow up on them to bring them involved? Champion, you are the champion now, becoming for vital links, fostering awareness and reducing barriers and encouraging timely, your roles cannot go to struggle with assessing you.
The project targets bridging gaps in healthcare access, particularly for pregnant women seeking care at nearby community centers.
If the government take this, it's going to address the issues that these 58 facilities of agencies have mentioned. We'll go deeper into that. So the goal now of SPAC is to strengthen public accountability, like I've said.
International Budget Partnership consultant Ugochi Ehianhurike noted that through the empowerment, the maternal health champions are expected to become pivotal links between communities and healthcare facilities.
Actually, why we are here to understand what we do at different levels. We are in gender and intersectionality lens. That's why when we are doing all our introduction here, some people said they are coming from Women of Resilience Group. We have people coming from Widows Association, because we want to see how they feel at that level, at that demand side level, with respect to assessing public goods and services at our community level.
Director of Justice, Development and Peace Caritas, Nnewi, Reverend Father Chima Okolo, emphasized the importance of inclusive and community-driven healthcare delivery. He noted that the program's focus on gender and intersectionality would ensure that no voice is left unheard and no citizen is left behind in assessing quality healthcare services in all PHCs.
At the heart of this effort is recognition that healthcare is not one size fits all. That is why the gender and the intersectionality design of this program matters. We acknowledge that women, young girls, men, persons with disabilities, and the vulnerable groups experience health services differently. Our responsibility is to ensure that our voice, no voice is left unheard, and no citizen is left behind.
The program manager for Nnewi JDPC, Onyekachi Oluolu, said the program will help promote awareness, reduce barriers, and encourage timely utilization of maternal health services.
There's no way we can know what is happening in these 58 communities and cannot use it to extrapolate that this is the status of healthcare service delivery at the PHCs in Anambra State. And if we want to make recommendations, I think that can really guide the kind of recommendation we will make. So we all as agencies, we have a serious role to play towards system shift. So for IPP International national strategy, we are looking at the system shift. We are also looking at gender and intersectionality.
Oluolu also explained that the community-led initiative will help to improve maternal and child health services through accountability, gender inclusion, and citizen participation. Lawrence Nwemo, Signature TV News.
Up ahead, federal government to curb road accidents with new strategy. Transport Minister concerns and hopes trail. WAEC transition to computer-based tests. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Minister of Transportation, Alhaji Alkali, says the federal government has strategized to further reduce the occurrences of accidents on the roads across the country. Alkali made this known when he received a committee made up of relevant stakeholders to develop mandatory training and certification programs for trailer and tanker drivers to address critical road safety concerns in Abuja. Alkali, who was represented by the director overseeing the office of the permanent secretary in the ministry, Alhaji Ibrahim, said that realizing the aim will improve safety and security to enhance the nation's integrity. He said that the ministry would promptly finance the committee's projects to achieve the feat. Earlier, Jide Owatumishe, who spoke on behalf of the committee, commended the minister for setting up the committee to tackle road safety challenges, particularly in the haulage sector. He explained that the setting up of the committee was a directive from the National Assembly. A fact-finding committee set up by Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang to investigate the persistent killings in the state has revealed that most of the attackers often come from neighboring states. The chairman of the committee, Major General Rojas Nicholas, while presenting the report in Jos, said the team engaged with indigenous people, interest groups, and visited communities ravaged by violent attacks to gather first-hand information. Nicholas said the findings show that attackers frequently cross into Plateau from Nasarawa, Kaduna, Bauchi, and Taraba states to launch quick strikes before retreating. He noted that bandits have established cells in villages in Nasarawa, bordering Kwampan, forcing many communities in the area to flee, while similar cells with suspected extremist links were also identified in Wase and Kanam local government areas. Governor Mutfwang, while receiving the report, commended the committee for the work and promised to act on its recommendations. He also said he would present the report to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and security experts to give them a clearer perspective on the decade-long violence in the state. Nigeria's First Lady and wife of the President, Oluremi Tinubu, has flagged off the Renewed Hope Initiative and Women Empowerment Program in Enugu State. The initiative is aimed at supporting women traders and small-scale business owners across the country. Tinubu, who was represented by the wife of the Enugu State Governor, Nkechinyere Mba, said the program is designed to uplift women who work tirelessly to sustain their families, educate their children, and drive community development.
I thank the Tony Elumelu Foundation, who donated 1 billion naira to the Renewed Hope Initiative to directly support 18,500 women across the nation. 500 women from each of the 36 states and the FCT will be receiving 50,000 naira each to strengthen and recapitalize their existing small businesses.
Beneficiaries who have received the support expressed joy, describing the grant as a lifeline that will help them grow their businesses and improve family well-being.
So happy this morning because I didn't expect it. I think they should do more and they should increase in whatever they are doing. I will increase my business. I work hard. I'll make sure this money is not in vain. I will increase it by working hard day after day.
I am so happy because of this good thing that happened today. I have told people that I have not witnessed such since my existence. I am so happy today. I also want to say that I will vote during the coming election and support whoever that will be elected in this state. And I thank the government for this opportunity.
In partnership with the Tony Elumelu Foundation, a donation of 1 billion naira has been made to the Renewed Hope Initiative, targeted at directly empowering 18,500 women nationwide. Under the program, 500 women from each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory will receive 50,000 naira each to recapitalize and expand their small businesses. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, is set to take a major step in modernizing its examination process, with plans to fully transition from paper-based tests to computer-based testing, CBT, with effect from 2026. The move, according to the Council, is aimed at enhancing efficiency, curbing malpractice, and aligning with global best practices in education assessment. Correspondent Chinemerem Ikebunam has been monitoring preparations ahead of the transition.
In recent years, WAEC has been accelerating the shift from paper-based examinations to computer-based testing. Pilot tests and the 2025 CB-WASE involving millions of candidates marked a major step towards full migration in 2026. The federal government says the policy will help curb malpractice, modernize assessment, and ensure faster release of results. But it also raises concern over infrastructure, power supply, and digital literacy, particularly in less privileged communities.
We have thousands of CBT centers across the nation. Those are the centers that we're going to use. We also have to expand the value chain of these CBT centers. They shouldn't just be to service JAMB alone. They should be able to service WAEC and NECO.
In Enugu, where the state government has begun constructing 260 small schools, many officials and educators welcomed the change, describing it as a step towards global best practices.
The use of computer is very, very important. Unlike our own time, we doesn't practice with computer. But the way I see it now, the WAEC introducing the use of computer is very, very important. And I think it will help our people.
We have a plan to establish some of the centers where some of them can pick up immediately. And in regards to what our governor is trying to do now, in regards to that smart school, I think it's going to be of a good benefit to them because some of them have started it now.
Some parents commend the innovation, but urge schools to begin exposing students to computer-based assessments early enough to help them build the skills required before sitting for the exam.
When they are not ready to do it now, why am I saying this? They will be using computer. How much is a computer? That's how many schools? They have not told us the number of schools they are going to exercise their discipline. They have not told us the logistic, financial implication, and what it takes to do what they are trying to do.
It will make our children, they will be not reading versatile as they're supposed to be. You understand? Some of them will start depending on expo. You on the expo that will come up so that they can be able to pass the exam. Because when there is no all this LBJ, it is so busy, right? It is so busy throughout. When it is so busy throughout, our children cannot be searching. They cannot search well.
Our students or our children are not properly sensitized about using that thing to write an exam. So, and first of all, some like us as a parents, we are not computer illiterate or that far, and our children will find it very difficult to cope up.
Others fear that rural and disadvantaged communities could be left behind if urgent steps are not taken to bridge infrastructure and digital gaps.
I feel it's too early for them to start that because we have not grown, Nigeria has not grown to use computer-based for WAEC examinations. A lot of schools are not computer literate. A lot of students have not been taught even the basics of computer. These exams is not just for those living in towns or in cities. We have people living in villages.
Because when I was in secondary school, they are saying that they're going to be using computer to write WAEC, but a lot of people say that they don't have to press keyboard because phone is different from keyboard. So I don't think to be using computer to write WAEC these days is good.
Thank you very much. While Enugu pushes forward with smart school projects, the Federal Education Minister has cautioned that Nigeria may still struggle with infrastructure requirements for CBT ahead of November 2025. My name is Chinemere Mikebunam, reporting for Signature TV News.
The President General of Ohanes Ndigbo Worldwide, John Azutambata, has urged the federal government to release Nnamdi Kanu, the incarcerated leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Azutambata emphasized that Kanu should be released to enable him access appropriate medical care. He made this appeal in a brief video message circulated to journalists on Thursday. Azutambata urged the federal government to explore a political solution to Kanu's detention, adding that the country has nothing to gain by keeping him behind bars.
I would like to call upon the federal government of Nigeria to quickly release Nnamdi Kanu. The government has no serious advantage in keeping him. It is important that the government ensures his safety and his welfare. And the government must allow him to go and get medical treatment as quickly as possible. The government must adopt a political solution to this situation. I do not believe that the government has any serious advantage in keeping him any further.
The Ohanese President General also used occasion to appeal to Igbo people to participate actively in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise.
I am calling upon Ndi Igbo niile, wherever you are in Nigeria, to quickly go and take advantage of the voter registration exercise that is going on right now. Go and get your card as quickly as possible.
The Civil Liberties Organization has threatened to sue the federal government over the non-payment of immigration officers who are serving in different countries abroad. The rights organization said the officers have not been paid for 14 months. According to reports, the officers have been crying out over non-payment of their salaries since last year, saying the development has caused them suffering and untold hardship. Some of the officers said that they have moved their families back to Nigeria because they can no longer afford to support them while living abroad. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has called on the Commonwealth to approve Nigeria's bid for the Commonwealth Games 2030 in the spirit of fairness and inclusion. The Speaker, who made the call when the Commonwealth Games Bid Evaluation Committee visited him at the National Assembly to seek his endorsement and legislative support for the bid, declared that the National Assembly supports President Bola Tinubu on the country's bid to host the sports competition. Speaker Abbas also expressed the commitment of the National Assembly to making budgetary allocations to the preparations for the hosting of the Games, saying there are government guarantees for security and modern facilities in the Abuja Games Village, designed to host 16 sports and 5 para sports, ensuring inclusivity for elite athletes with disabilities. The Speaker decried that Africa has never hosted the competition since almost 100 years of its existence, noting that the Games, which were first held in Hamilton, Canada in 1930, will commemorate its 100th year in 2030. The delegation was made up of representatives of the National Sports Commission, the National Institute for Sports, the Commonwealth Games Nigeria, and members of the Abuja 2030 Bid Committee. In Cameroon's English-speaking regions, classrooms sit empty and streets are deserted as armed separatists enforce a month-long lockdown, disrupting education and daily life just weeks before the presidential election. The shutdown, which began in early September, aims to block school reopenings and impede the October 12 vote. As the election approaches, there are concerns that separatist activities may intensify. President Paul Biya, 92, has declared he will run again, while a leading opposition figure has been barred from the race. U.S. authorities on September 5th unsealed indictments against 2 Minnesota men for allegedly organizing, financing, and directing kidnappings, bombings, and killings in Cameroon on behalf of the Ambazonia Defense Forces, a prominent separatist group. The United Nations Human Rights Office warns that tightening restrictions on assemblies, media, and opposition activity risk undermining the poll nationwide. For Anglophone residents, these broader concerns compound the coercion they face on the ground.
Yeah, everybody have seen what is happening, the rampant killing, especially the recent one in Malende Muyoka, where soldiers were lynched, about 8 of them. And if a soldier who moves with a gun can be killed in the field, who am I, a teacher? Who are the students who cannot be killed? So you see that the fear has been instilled in the marrow of every English-speaking Cameroonian who is aware of what is happening in Cameroon. So people don't go out because of the fear of the unknown. You don't know who the separatists are. And we know that they are targeting teachers, like I said. And if you go out, you may not return. There will be a kind of learning gap between the students of the English-speaking part and those of the French-speaking part. And the examination board doesn't take into consideration the lockdown. They set the same exams for students of the English-speaking part and students of the French-speaking part. You discover that our counterparts in the French-speaking part have a kind of comparative advantage over the students of this area. There is also the security challenge. In fact, here you cannot be proud to say publicly that you are a teacher. You go to the class in kind of hiding.
The disruption of schools these past 2 weeks has affected us greatly. This is because we had syllables to cover this first term, but due to the ghost town, we are unable to cover them. So it has affected us greatly, and students sometimes are scared to come to school, especially teachers, since they are being threatened that if they come, something might happen. The threat, of course, it worries us because at times we see videos of other schools how they have been attacked by separatist fighters in class, and they somehow injure them. So it makes us to be scared, and also the teachers are also scared, of course, and even lecturers.
If this lockdown continues like this, it will affect me greatly personally because I'm that kind of slow learner. I'm not really fast in understanding or in doing. So if this lockdown continues like this, it will really affect me personally. Yes, because I need time to study, to understand something in school.
It's the latest escalation in a conflict that has plagued Cameroon's northwest and southwest region since 2016. According to Human Rights Watch, the conflict has claimed at least 6,000 civilian lives and devastated the education system. UNICEF reports that school closures in the affected regions had recently dropped from nearly 7,000 to about 2,463, as some institutions reopened despite insecurity. World leaders will gather in New York next week for a UN General Assembly dominated by US. President Donald Trump's return to the rostrum, war in Gaza and Ukraine, rising Western recognition of Palestinian statehood, and nuclear tensions with Iran. Headlining this year's 80th General Assembly will be Trump, who calls for slashing US funding for the UN, stopped US engagement with the UN Human Rights Council, extended a halt to funding for the Palestinian Relief Agency, and quit the UN Cultural Agency, UNESCO. He has also announced plans to quit the Paris Climate Deal and the World Health Organization. Trump will speak on Tuesday, 8 months into a second term marked by severe US foreign aid cuts that have sparked global humanitarian chaos and raised questions about the UN's future, prompting Antonio Guterres to try to cut costs and improve efficiency. He and Trump are expected to meet formally for the first time next week since Trump returned to office in January, one of more than 150 bilateral meetings the UN chief said he has scheduled, dubbing the week the World Cup of Diplomacy.
We are gathering in turbulent, even uncharted waters. Geopolitical divides widening, conflicts raging, impunity escalating, our planet overeating, new technologies racing ahead without guardrails, inequalities widening by the hour, and international cooperation is straining under pressures unseen in our lifetimes.
The UN has tremendous potential. It's not living up to that potential right now. It really isn't, hasn't for a long time. It has, there are great hopes for it, but it's not being well run, to be honest, and they're not doing the job. A lot of these conflicts that we're working on should be settled, or at least we should have some help in settling them. We never seem to get help. That should be the primary purpose of the UN, the United Nations, and Again, it's got great potential, and based on the potential, we'll continue to go along with it, but they got to get their act together.
The UN draft resolution has not been adopted owing to the negative vote of a permanent member of the Council.
The United States has been clear. We would not support any measure that fails to condemn Hamas and does not call for Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza.
But we have no carrots and no sticks. And as we have no carrots and no sticks in a world in which we have the geopolitical divides that we have, it's extremely difficult to make the protagonists of the present conflicts understand the need to come to peace. Now, the United States has carrots and sticks. So in some situations, if you are able to combine the two, I think we can have a very effective way to make sure that some peace process at least can lead to a successful result.
The curse of October 7th, a future of hope. On the other hand, a dark future of despair.
This war will not end when the hostages are still there.
No one is naive enough to ignore what this is about. It is about the land. All Palestinians are guilty of being Palestinians and for wanting to live on their land, the land of their ancestors. Their sentence: ethnic cleansing, apartheid, arbitrary detention or death. How long will they have to suffer?
Reports just reaching our news desk says the Rivers State Governor, Similai Fubara, has arrived in Port Harcourt, the state capital. The governor arrived at the Port Harcourt International Airport few minutes ago, more than 24 hours after President Bola Tinubu ended the 6-month emergency rule in the state. He was greeted by a crowd of supporters who had earlier converged at the VIP wing of the Port Harcourt International Airport, awaiting his arrival. At least 4 explosions were seen over Gaza in the early hours of Friday, with fireballs seen lighting up the sky over the Palestinian enclave. On Thursday, Israeli tanks advanced along 2 gateways to the center of Gaza City, while internet and phone lines were cut off for several hours, signaling a potential escalation in ground operations. On the same day, the United States vetoed a draft United Nations Security Council resolution that would have demanded an immediate, unconditional, and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, and that Israel lift all restrictions on aid deliveries to the enclave. The text, drafted by the elected 10 members of the 15-member council, would also have demanded the immediate, dignified, and unconditional release of all hostages held by Hamas and other groups. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have fled northern Gaza City, heading to the south since Israel announced on August 10 it intended to take control, but a greater number are staying put, either on battered homes among the ruins or in makeshift tents, encampments. Israeli tanks advanced along 2 gateways to the center of Gaza City on Thursday, while internet and phone lines were cut off for several hours, signaling a potential escalation in ground operations in the Palestinian enclave. Israel says the offensive to take control of Gaza City is part of a plan to defeat Palestinian militant group Hamas. The military has been dropping leaflets urging residents to flee towards a designated humanitarian zone in the south of the territory, but aid agencies say conditions there are dire, with insufficient food, medicine, shelter, and basic hygiene. Protesters gathered outside a building in Manhattan where U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents operated holding cells cited by a federal judge for inhumane conditions. New York City Comptroller Brand Lander and 10 state lawmakers were taken into custody inside 26 Federal Plaza after they were denied entry to inspect the 10th floor cells. Protest organizers said a group was there to ensure compliance with a court order requiring ICE to improve conditions at the lockup. Organizers said more than 75 people in all were detained by city police and federal agents at both gatherings. The incident was the latest clash between federal authorities and Democratic politicians opposed to the immigration policies of President Donald Trump. And that's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Olwaha. Thanks for watching.